Welcome back, guys. So today Trisha wanted me to film her in making bread. She wanted to share with all you guys her bread recipe that she has been cooking or baking for our family for quite a few years now. So I'm going to be the cameraman today and she will be the star of the show. So come along as she makes bread.
We are going to start with just some all-purpose flour, and then we've got some honey we've got some yeast, with some regular salt, and some potato flakes, and powdered milk, and vinegar, and oil. So the first thing we need is 2.5 cups of warm water. Half a cup of honey. And right here is just above 2.5, and I measure it this way. And now it's about 3 cups. And when you put the honey in there, you take a fork and you've got to really mix it together to help that yeast activate. Okay, now we're gonna do the flour. So we need 5.5 cups of flour. And I don't put the last half cup in there because depending on how much moisture you have in the air or whatever, it's easier just to add the last half cup of flour. So now we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay, now we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of powdered milk. The powdered milk makes a big difference. You need that protein in there to help the bread hold together. 1/2 cup of potato flakes. And I always double check my recipe before I move on, make sure I didn't forget anything. And the last 2 ingredients is my oil and vinegar, and I stir the dry mix together. Stir that up one last time. And you see how it's foamy? That's the way to tell that your yeast is still good, it's activating. And then we mix it together. Just a little bit, which is 2 tablespoons of vinegar.
Smells really good. Little side note.
And then my oil.
Now some people might ask, do you always use olive oil or do you use any type of oil?
I've used several different kind of oils and I don't see a difference. I've heard that it's better to bake with olive oil, but I can't tell a difference when I make it. So I've got olive oil now, and so I use it. You let it mix for about 10 minutes, and because you let it mix in the mixer so long, you won't have to knead it so much, just a little bit of kneading. So it really saves your arms. No.
I was gonna post Trisha's original recipe.
That isn't my original.
But it says worm water, not warm water. So she has to rewrite it. I know we got worms over here, but for crying out loud, worm tea? That's not the secret ingredient.
Get over here, we're ready for our next step. Okay, you see how it's starting to pull away from the sides? That's what you want to start looking for. And at this point, we're going to add that last half cup of flour to it. And then you just gradually put some in there, a little bit at a time.
So what are you looking for while you're adding that flour?
The bowl will start to become cleaner. So I look for the flour, and once it gets absorbed and it's still sticking to the sides, I add just a little bit more. With your finger, you want to push into it. If it's still sticky, you can add more flour. So I'm gonna turn it back on and add probably another 1/4 cup of flour. So to knead it by hand, you just sprinkle a little bit of flour on there. Sprinkle a little bit of flour up top because a lot of the flour gets here, but not up here. And then I just scoop it off the dough hook. Get my hands floured up, and you just fold it on top of itself. This is what you're wanting, a nice soft look to it. Or when it stops being sticky, when I pull away, I can still feel it stick just a little bit. So just a little bit more flour should make it perfect. You see how I fold it and it pulls the fold apart? That's what you're looking for. See how smooth that is? So some people take the bread and put it back in there and let it rise, but I would just prefer to wash that up and not have crusty spots on the edges. Makes it easier to clean. What I do is just put a little bit of oil in the bottom and grab the bread this side and kind of squeeze it and use it to coat the sides with the oil, and then turn it over so it's nice and smooth. So I put it on the stove and let warm air be able to circulate all the way around it. Okay, I'm gonna wet this towel in hot water because you don't want your bread drying out. And I'll leave that for an hour, and it's going to double in size. While the bread is rising for an hour, I'm going to grease my bread pans. And so when I make bread for my family, I do 3 batches in one sitting. So right now we're only doing 1 batch, and it makes 4 small loaves, or it makes 2 big loaves. Okay, so here's our bread after an hour. I take a little bit of Crisco and put it there, and I also put a little bit on my hands so the bread doesn't stick to me. It's doubled in size, it's beautiful. And I'm going to punch it down and put it on the counter and shape it and put it in the bread pans and let it rise for 30 minutes. And you see those air pockets that popped out? We want that to happen. We've got an air pocket right there. You see that? And you just divide it in half. I just take it and pinch it. And this whole piece right here will go into that one. And so I just fold it in, make sure the bubbles get popped. And just like close it up like an envelope. Roll it and shape it. This one, we're just gonna do it the same way. We're just gonna divide it in 2. So I'm tucking the ends in this way and then bringing the 2 sides together and then squeezing them tight. And that side will go on the bottom because it's not very pretty. Okay, now that the rag is been wet with warm water, the warm water will help it rise too. We'll just lay it over that and come back in 30 minutes. Okay, our oven is up to temperature, 350 degrees, and we're gonna slowly transfer it into the oven so we don't bump it and make them fall flat. For another 30 minutes, and then we'll have hot, fresh bread. Okay, let's see the bread. Oh, they're big and beautiful. And let them sit for 5 minutes in the pan, and then you can take them out. Hey, this is the exciting part. Bread smells good, and you can just lift it out. Beautiful loaf. It's still a little warm and a little moist, and that's why you want to let it air out
you think? We're gonna have a little taste before the herd gets in here, or the kids, and they devour this loaf. We're gonna enjoy this fresh, steamy, hot bread. Thank you guys for following us today. Special thanks to Trisha for all of her hard work in making bread for all these years, and continues to make bread for us. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comment section below, and Trisha will get back to you. And hope you guys try this bread and practice, right?
Yes, don't give up. It is well worth it.